Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of your six-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, April 17th. The LA Galaxy getting ready to take on Austin in Texas coming up this Saturday, April 19th, for a breakfast game for no reason whatsoever. That's right, a 10:30 TV start time, a 10:55 kickoff time for you on Saturday. That's too early. There's no reason for it. We're going to talk about a little bit of why and if the LA Galaxy stand a chance of breaking that winless record here at game number 9. We have that. We have some Academy news. We have some stats and all the fun stuff that we have. And to help us do all that, we are glad to have her back in the fold with us. It is the cannon herself, Miss Sophie Nicolaou. Soph, how are you doing?
I am excellent, at ease, Galaxians, at ease. Josh, good to see you, and always good to hear your dulcet tones, my friend.
You know, it's the microphone. I'll tell that again. I think most people don't even recognize my voice anymore because I have the bass jacked up so high on this thing. I'm like, let's get those, we need that, like, that deep, dark James Earl Jones, like, feeling, in here. We need something. We need something to change. Something. Is there a streak breaker, Soph, that whenever you were growing up, there was something you did to break streaks? Because the Galaxy need to sacrifice a goat. They need to do something at this point.
Luke, I am your father.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to help. That's going to help. No. I have no idea. I am going to, let me, before we even start about anything, I want to be very clear with my intentions on this show. If you were waiting for me to predict an LA Galaxy win at the end of this show, it is not happening because I am now firmly in the prove it to me. Prove it to me. If you're going to turn a corner, you're going to get better. You say that this is a turning point. There's been I've been there on every single one of them, Soph. I've said, go ahead. I believe in the Orlando game. This is the game. Everybody knows it's the game. This is the game the Galaxy are going to turn around, score first, have a lead. There we go, finally. Everything's back to nope, you lose the game. Right? Then in the Houston game, the turnaround after the Tigres game, man, you're feeling it. This is going to be a really big, they're at home, it's a Saturday night, they're giving away rings, the ring things go sideways, the Galaxy go down a minute. So no, I'm done pretending that there's a turnaround point, and I have plenty of reason to believe that if you listen to the Galaxy talk recently. You're going to have to show me. I believe you, but show me. Trust but verify.
Now I'm going to do the movie stuff. Show me the money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Josh, what you remind me of is, when we were younger and there was the really exceptionally good-looking person, at the bar or at the club, and you used to see them all the time, and you'd, want to go up and talk to them, but you just couldn't.
No,
and
scared.
And then, there was always my male friend who would keep trying, and nothing.
Right.
Eventually, is the beautiful girl going to crumble? Maybe. Who knows?
Is this a rom-com? Is this The Holiday all over? Are the LA Galaxy Jack Black? I'm trying to figure out where we are. The Santa Ana wind's going to blow, and that's finally what turns everything on. These are some holiday deep cuts, by the way, that I'm sharing with you right now as one of my wife's favorite movies. Whenever it's if it starts getting windy or a little rainy, just turn on The Holiday. Any time of year, doesn't matter. Doesn't need to be Christmas. So sorry.
Christmas in July. And
Right.
also, by the way, I'm still mad at Nancy Myers for teasing a holiday 2 on April Fool's Day this year. I thought that was really mean-spirited from Nancy Myers. I expect better from her.
Okay.
The woman who gave us Father of the Bride and stuff. But,
Yes.
LA Galaxy need to be the bride and not the bridesmaid. And it's really sad, actually, to see. So I tweeted this thing out, and I've always asked you because I feel like I find a lot of education when I come on the show. You talk about different components of Major League Soccer, the financial structures, and everything that kind of goes into it. And one of the things I've really adopted and loved American sports since I've been living here. And I'm a huge, huge baseball fan. I love basketball. I love football. I've embraced it all. But Josh, one of the things I just don't get is when a championship team comes to be and then you just break it up.
It's just gone.
Right?
It's just gone. It's just gone. I mean, you see it in other sports, maybe not as extreme as Major League Soccer, right? And, we were talking, we had Will Kuntz on Monday night. If you haven't listened to that interview, I suggest you do. I thought it was good. I always get critiques on every interview from listeners, and I understand if you don't think our questions were pointed enough. I actually thought that they were pretty pointed. I thought those were some pretty like, one is there were questions that Will knew he was going to be asked. It wasn't going to be like a surprise or anything like that. There's no surprises here. The LA Galaxy are winless in 8. You can only ask so many questions about what's happening and what's going on. But,
Right.
I thought it was interesting to hear his take on it. And certainly it is from his perspective. And I doubt that he's going to sit there and say, yeah, I really screwed things up, or, I wanted to do this better, the whole deal. But, to put it in perspective that you saw from him, and I feel this way. I've talked to enough people that I also feel that this is an accurate representation. You look at Mark Delgado, and it would have been great to keep Mark Delgado. Had the LA Galaxy been able to get rid of Dejan Joveljic maybe earlier in the thing, maybe that changed things. But I'll tell you, I don't think it does. I don't think Mark Delgado was going to stay. There was sort of a choice between whether you keep Mark Delgado or maybe Diego Fagundez. And with the number of positions that Diego Fagundez played in and the money that was going to be available for Mark Delgado, but not just Mark Delgado for this year, but Mark Delgado for next year and the year after, because I believe eventually that what you're going to see is that a contract extension is going to be announced with him at LAFC. I know it hasn't been, but I know that was part of sort of the whole thing, and I've certainly had some discussions about that, which is like a 3-year deal for a considerable amount of money. It was something the LA Galaxy maybe didn't want to do, right? That type of thing. So it wasn't just about this season, but it was about extending past that. So that's the Mark Delgado one. The Dejan Joveljic is that, his agent came in and asked for designated player money. And the LA Galaxy have 3 designated players. And are you going to trade?
He's scored 5 goals so far this season, I think.
Yep. You missed, I think you missed, was it 1 penalty kick or 2 penalty kicks? It was the same. It just wanted you to know it didn't change whenever he went. But no, I mean, the LA Galaxy would have loved to keep Dejan Joveljic. Will even said, how do you keep life-changing money from him? Like, no, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to play for, this amount of money because, even though you're being offered this other stuff. So
I get the Dejan thing. I really do, because that's a big money move for him, right? He's been waiting for that, and he earned the right for that move.
Right.
I just keep seeing you and Gaston in the dressing room after MLS Cup win. And I think the problem is that when you have that type of season, and even in the media, you become attached to players. I say all the time, because for so long I wanted to sell most Arsenal players, right?
Right.
And now we've become attached to the point where you're going to lose players that you really admire and that you've kind of, as a fan, fallen in love with. And there was no doubt that last season's team was one of the best. We talked about it, didn't we, Josh, on the show?
We did.
The Beckhams and the Donovans and the Keanes, and this was probably my favorite season that just passed, because of all of the adversity that the team had overcome as well over the years. But I guess, like the Delgado thing, you talk about year 2 and year 3. So what does that mean, though? Like, for the other this midfield is weak sauce right now.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
sorry.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I really hope that someone who I'm very fond of at the club that listens to this show on the treadmill the next day, I say it so respectfully, but when you go from, forget Ricky, because And you know, I have to own up to something too that I said on this show last season. There was a time where I felt this was becoming Gabriel Pec's team. And I don't know what's happened to him. He's so out of form. And it can't just be Ricky.
And it is, but it also isn't. He's also been the only designated player on the field, so it's been pretty easy to stop an LA Galaxy attack when you put 2 or 3 players on him. I mean, somebody pulled up the Discord. Somebody in the Discord pulled up his numbers, and certainly his numbers are definitely more human this year than they have been. But the bottom line is that he's just not getting the ball in the places that he needs to get the ball. He's not as much of a creator as I think everybody wants him to be, and certainly when he's the only designated player, he's easy enough to shut down. You put 2 guys on him, and you can shut him down. It's about dribbling and doing things. We already saw just in the Houston game what happens whenever all of a sudden there's another designated player out there with him, because Joseph Paintsel hit a great ball that was in behind that I think Pec could have done a little better with, but not. It was still a difficult play, but it was down the middle, and those are the balls that he just hasn't been on. There, nobody has been able to play him into that spot the entire year until Joseph Paintsel comes back. So, yeah, he's got to step up, but I think a lot of it is just the ability to focus on the one thing. We talked about that for years with the Galaxy. If you know that you don't have to worry about, whenever Douglas Costa, remember Doug? Whenever Douglas Costa isn't playing. And the LA Galaxy just have one guy out there, it's pretty easy to shut down one guy. Even Lionel Messi needs guys around him so that way he can pass and play off of, right? And I think that's what you're seeing from Pec.
I get that. And you guys know, here I go with my Arsenal comparisons. But there's, Martinelli at Arsenal is a great player. Got an amazing goal against Real Madrid last night. There's times where he holds onto the ball too long. He doesn't look up, and you can almost predict the pass that he's going to make. Mm-hmm. There wasn't too much of that from Pec, and maybe because of the injuries, he's trying to make up for it to be the hero and make things happen. As much as I totally, understand what you're saying about he's got 2 or 3 guys on him, all the more reason to release the ball a little bit quicker sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is his Achilles heel so far this season. He's trying to do too much,
yes,
which I get because
Greg Vanney
he's
says
the
this.
dude.
Greg says the same thing. He's been trying to do too much. He's been trying to be the playmaker. He's been trying to create everything. He's been trying to do everything. And yeah, it's a cop-out. I mean, not from Greg, but just like in general terms, it's a cop-out to be like, you're trying to do too much. It means you're not doing enough, right? I mean, whenever you're trying to do too much, it's like, you're not doing enough. And enough is that you have to be a creative product on the field, especially for Gabriel Pec. He has speed. He has creativity. He needs to be able to find those spots. The Galaxy also need to adjust and be able to find him. I think certainly, the Ricky Push thing is the Ricky Push thing. It just, you can't replace him, and there's never, it's not going to try. I think the Galaxy have done better with Parente out there. And Parente is not, he's low rent Ricky Puig. That's not a knock on him. I actually really think that he could develop into something really cool. The interesting thing with Parente is developed sort of in that lower levels for the LA Galaxy, and has learned that role and was able to step up into the higher level and complete that role. Not perfectly, not always, but to complete that role. So I think that helps Gabriel Pec a little bit, just having somebody who can sort of do that. The other thing is the Galaxy have been so poor on defense, they haven't been crashing the outsides as much. So you're getting, like, Yamane was injured for a little bit, but getting Miki up the right hand side to combine with Gabriel Pec, that's something we saw in the Houston game, even down 10 men. That's something that hasn't been there because they just haven't been good on through the midfield. The midfield being weak, and I agree with you, it's weak sauce. I'll 100% back you up on that. The midfield being weak in there has allowed the defense to have to suck up a whole bunch of pressure because the midfield just passes that ball, and it's bad turnovers and all the mistakes that shoot yourself in the foot and all those fun things. But having said that, I still think that there's a way to get Pec more involved. And I think that with Paintsel over there, we already see the ability for that to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think against Austin, again, we have been, Greg Vanney has even talked about it. His eyes light up every time he talks about it. He wants to get Diego Fagundez in at the 10. He wants to, by the way, Will Kuntz talked about it as well. He goes, we thought we were going to have, Diego Fagundez in at the 10 and then have Marco backing him up. And that's a pretty good midfield then, because then you have Cerrillo and Fagundez and then, whoever's going to be that second player in there, whether it's Sanabria or Winder or Parente or any of those other guys, right? So if you can do that, maybe you get more creativity out of it. But we haven't seen that version of the LA Galaxy yet because they've been injured. Now they had a red card. It's like you finally get everything together, Sophie. That's what was so frustrating about the Houston game. You finally get it together and you're like, this. Maybe now we'll get to see the Galaxy play the way that we somewhat expect, and then they go and get a red card and throw that away.
Josh, you know what it is too? The creativity, 100%. But the problem for LA Galaxy is they cannot control the tempo of a game. And that's the issue, right? Yeah. Because the one thing that Ricky does is he's like the puppeteer. He can control the tempo of a game, dictate it. He's a great, as much as he gives the ball away, he's still a great ball carrier. Right. And he's quick to pass. He's quick to release, but he's got the intelligence to know mostly when to kind of visualize, see those runs. But controlling the tempo of a game is so important. And there's no stability on the ball. From the games that I've seen, they don't have anyone able to do that. And, Gabriel Pec wants to dribble fast and make something happen.
Right.
Joseph Paintsil, I think, is a little bit better at being more measured, but, release and understanding that pass. Sometimes he's a fast player, right? He's looking for the ball as much as he is distributing the ball. But you need a maestro in the midfield to control the tempo of the game. And the quality is just not there to be able to do that right now. And I think if Greg can figure that part out, you'll see LA Galaxy doing a lot better.
Do you think that, I believe this, but do you think that Diego Fagundez is at least an answer to that? You have an experienced player. He talks about how he's not a very good defender, right? Like he goes, I'm not a very good defender. He'll straight it. We had a perfectly one-to-one conversation. He was on our show. Of course, he was on our show and scored a goal afterwards. I'm surprised he doesn't call in right now, just to make sure he gets in before the Austin game, because that he's going to be fired up for the Austin. There is nobody that Diego Fagundez wants to score on more than Austin. He is going to be hyped out of his mind for this game. I'm just telling you. He even told us that in his last press conference we were talking about it, and he skewed away from what we were talking about. But he was sort of saying, when we get to the next game, he goes, when we play Austin, and he goes, and nobody wants to beat them more than me, right? That's the thing. So he's motivated to go in there and do something. But if you get a experienced midfielder like Diego Fagundez, who can play in the middle, who can distribute, who can pass, who has the creativity to understand what Joseph Paintsil wants, what Christian Ramirez wants, what Gabriel Pec wants. He is at least thinking, I think, on their level. I really think the world of how cerebral.
As a number 10.
As a 10. He's going to have to, somebody has to play the 10. Somebody has to get in there and do it. The Galaxy, Parente is the closest they've gotten so far. And yeah, you're there, but you need more. You need more from that. And I think for somebody who can possibly control tempo, and he's not going to control it like Ricky Puig. He's not going to dribble around people and go through, but with passes, with quick thinking, with learning when to hold the ball a little bit, learning when to go quickly, that type of thing. You need somebody in the middle who's able to make those decisions. I think the Galaxy have faltered in those decisions so far this year.
What's the deal with Marco? Because obviously if...
we can give you
can't play 90 minutes though either. What's the scoop?
We can give you full injury updates. So first of all, Mauricio Cuevas ready to go for Austin. So he is now back and returned. That's been a long hamstring, I believe hamstring or calf injury. I can't remember exactly which, but most of them are hamstring injuries. So we'll just go with that. So Mauricio Cuevas ready to go, which is good because that's a bench piece that the Galaxy haven't had and haven't been able to put in. And there were, as Will talked about on Monday night, they were excited to get him in and get him minutes this year. He's definitely a piece off the bench that they want to use. So that's one. So Mauricio Cuevas is in. The other update was Marco Reus. We actually talked to Marco, which was fun. It's always nice. I haven't talked to Marco in a really long time, probably last year.
He was on the show? You did an interview with him on the show?
No, but we got to talk to him no, if it was on the show, you would have known about it. I would have told everybody. But no, we got to talk to him for a press conference on Wednesday.
Okay.
So technically the press conference didn't happen today. It happened yesterday on Wednesday because the Galaxy flew out today, Thursday afternoon, to get to Austin early because they'll train in Austin on Friday. And then again, they play 10:55 is the kickoff time, local time here. So 11 o'clock basically kickoff time for body clock. Yeah. By the way, if you look at the schedule, that's the first game of the day. The first game of the day is between two Western Conference opponents.
It's on Fox as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Fox. It's on here. I'll bring it up right now. But that game's on Fox. It's on MLS Season Pass. It starts, apparently TV coverage starts at 10:30 a.m. And then 10:55 a.m. is whenever you have kickoff. So that's going to lead into that. But this is the first game in the entire league. You can't have two East Coast teams tee off this early. Like, it just, to me, and by the way, Greg Vanney talked about it because somebody asked him, like, what do you think of these early games, right? And he goes, okay. He goes, I guess it's good that we're there in Austin early, but he goes, it's supposed to be 80-something degrees, and there's a chance of thunderstorms that day, right? So, I mean, great, wonderful, so let's watch. This game won't get played until the evening, right? We'll watch whenever it comes down, but we got to talk to Marco Reus. And Marco sort of said that he'd been training fully the last couple days, that he feels pretty good, the whole deal. Now, I asked him, because people asked how he was feeling. I think Damien asked how he was feeling, and he said, I'm feeling pretty good, but the whole deal. And like, I just asked him, I go, are you going to be available for this weekend? And he goes, I have to talk to Greg. And that's the correct answer, by the way, because I think some people are like, the whole deal. He doesn't want to say, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then Greg goes, no, not yet. Like, let's give you another day, like that type of thing. And then Greg came on after him and was sort of like much more optimistic about him playing minutes. And Marco's on the trip. We saw that he traveled already. I think he's going to get some minutes. But you're right. He can't play 90 minutes. He's probably in the 20 to 30 minute range right now where he goes. And then the answer is if he can handle that well, then you're okay. But if he doesn't handle it well, if there's more knee problems, if there's more injuries there, then, what is this long term? And I think I even asked Will about sort of Marco Reus and his long term viability for it. And I think Will, answered it as best he could. Again, I don't expect people to be like, no, we're going to have to get rid of him, like that type of thing. But I just wonder if they're at that point with Marco Reus where if there's another big sort of setback, which at this point I'm almost counting on, right? Whether or not everybody sort of decides that it's done and everybody's done and we'll move on and go. So
is this another Douglas Costa situation brewing, do you think?
It's not, only because Douglas Costa was a full DP and cost a whole bunch of money, and for the amount of money that you're paying for Marco Reus, I think again, I have less issues because he's a TAM player. You're just not going to get me as excited about that stuff. I know people who are like, they're ready to die on the hill, get rid of Marco Reus immediately. And I'm just not. I'm like, as a TAM player, I don't care. I honestly, it's kind of like, how much do you want to play? Like that type of thing on as a TAM contract. Yeah, you could use another player in that, and you could probably do pretty significant damage with another player like that. But
that's what makes it less painful, is the money.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
It does. Well,
that's
everything.
Yeah.
It was interesting though, because I did ask Marco Reus about because Diego Fagundez after the Houston game said something. He's like, even Marco was in the locker room at halftime talking to us. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Just that he brought that up. Like, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I asked Marco about it. I go, it seems like you stayed pretty close to the team even while you've been injured. And I've heard the guys talk about Marco being out there with them, even on training. Like, even whenever he can't go, he's out there talking with them and doing the stuff. And I asked him about it. And Marco was, I don't know. It was just, it's just interesting to hear everybody's takes on this. I don't know if it's weird that like I ask some questions like this. I don't know. I just went with like sort of my gut on this one. I wanted to see.
You feel like they're not hiding something,
no.
But do you feel like things are a little bit more serious than?
No, I don't. Well, one is with Marco, I do. I think that there is something. I think that there are more conversations happening behind the scenes about Marco Reus and his longevity with the LA Galaxy. That's what I believe. I don't have any information to tell me that, but I believe that that is something that could possibly come up, which is if he gets injured again, that may be it, right? Like I don't know that they're ready to continue sort of waiting for him to come back and get ready. So that's one thing to watch. The other part of it is that people think that because the Galaxy are losing that there must be some great turmoil in the locker room and that guys are like dissenting and that it's going crazy. And that's it's just not happening.
Nah.
This is Marco Reus. I asked him about if it was important to be close to everybody, and what he said at halftime. He goes, I just had the feeling on the last weekend that they need something a bit more from the player's side. And I just had the feeling, okay, I can speak a little bit. I always speak to the guys, but of course in the game, where before the game the coaches speak always, you just have that feeling, okay, maybe it's good to say something. And just that they know they can play football, and they are one man down, but they play not that bad. Maybe a little bit bad at the first half, but our intensity, our aggressivity, which is a great word, was not that good. And so he was sort of, so here's what the Galaxy did, and I don't know, again, maybe we're all on the same wavelength sometime. They put out a video today that was about the last game. And they do these cinematic reviews of the game. They're gorgeous. It's just such fun storytelling, and I'm such a sucker for storytelling. Like, if you have a good story and you put some music behind it and you get an emotional response out of people
that was a good story.
It was a good story, because you go and watch them. They go down a man. Yeah, I mean, this is all like,
sure, okay.
You go down a man.
G-up.
This is over. This game is
hype video.
Yeah, but it's. You got to see Marco Reus talking to the guys afterwards. And Diego said it after. He said, even Marco said, I believe in you, right? That type of thing. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Like, I believe in. It's interesting coming from different ways. Go watch that video and tell me that you don't get a sense of what this team is about, because I know it from being close to the guys and talking to the guys.
I don't think for a second there's fraction in this team.
Zero.
I don't think for a second that Greg's lost the dressing room. I think that is literally... it's not even on a list. It's I don't even think it should be a narrative. And this team has been together like through thick and thin. Right now there's transition. There's new players who've come in. Mm-hmm. Some of them aren't as experienced, and again, respectfully, some of them just aren't as talented. And it's difficult when you're playing alongside players that aren't at a certain level. Mm-hmm. So Greg is expecting, especially coming off last year, right? And the way he managed the team, the way he got through the process, he's expecting certain levels. And not everyone is at Pec's level. And not everyone is at Paintsil's level. And I know some fans have issues, but, be careful what you wish for, because he's still like up there in terms of the quality in the team. Defensively, it's just not. They're not. The team is disjointed. The talent isn't equal. Now, it's never equal in a team. You just need the balance.
Right.
But the issue is not only isn't there enough equality, the balance is off on the talent perspective. And I think that's a problem. And that goes through, at least in the goalkeeper position, to a player in defense. There's one player in each position that isn't making the jigsaw puzzle fit. And that's a problem.
Yeah, we want to take your super chat questions. So if you have any super chat questions, go ahead and put them in the chat here. Executive producer Herb has a nice little palate cleanser for us. $18 super chat. Always appreciate that, Herb. Nice. Herb says, "Hey Josh, hi Sophie. Here to ask Sophie to do her best Josh impersonation. Think she did it once before." I
have. I can't repeat that, man.
Do you want to save it for the end? Should we try to save it?
Maybe the end. Let's do it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Herb,
that's a good way to end the show.
chat, please remind me. I have ADHD and I will forget.
Remind me too.
Adam, by the way, $5 super chat says, "Josh, can we get Sophie's thought on last weekend's chaos? Did you know about the ring controversy that's going around where it got a little crazy?"
I read about it, and it seems like in the hospital they would say, "I'm sorry, that was a clerical error."
yeah, we need to correct that one.
It's a little bit embarrassing, isn't it, really? Let's be honest.
It is, and I've been having a lot of conversations. It seems, and I don't know this because I haven't been able to confirm it, but I've seen it on social media, that it seems like the Galaxy are reaching out to some season ticket members right now and trying to make sure that they get rings and do the things. Because remember, they sucked back some of those during the chaos. Also, I would like to point out, and perhaps I wasn't strong enough, there were a whole bunch of people acting like total idiots out there. And, you want to have not nice things. Just, there's a situation.
The season ticket holders.
Not even season ticket holders, but not even season ticket holders, but like people who were there to, it was open to everybody. It was the first 10,000 people who were in. Now, obviously, depending on gate, depending on how many people went through in front of you, depending on how many rings they gave to each gate, like there were a whole bunch of variables that could end up being, affecting that. But apparently when things got really bad, there were people who were like standing and screaming at staff and like really throwing a little tantrum. And that's the part where I'm sort of like, you can miss me with that part. Like, you don't need to threaten people's, livelihoods over. It's not plastic.
This seems like a bit of a, can't use the word in
a
English.
Kerfuffle?
Larry not on Twitter. I've got him in the back of my head.
Yeah, don't swear. Don't swear.
Yeah. This seems like a 2-year ago LA Galaxy mistake to me. Knowing this team and knowing everyone who works there, they're sort of the earth people that really trying to and have worked so hard to evolve these types of kind of images and stuff like that and discourse between, fans and the club. And I just think that this team, sometimes mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Right. And I know, and for a fact that the people that are at the club right now are trying to do their best and doing the right thing. Someone made a mistake. It's, own it. But this to me seems like a strategic faux pas from 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's not understanding.
Is that fair, Josh? Is that a
I think it's fair. I mean, and I said the biggest issue, and I still believe this, is that the nature of the workers who work at Dignity Health Sports Park, they're not full time, right? Because there aren't enough events and there aren't constant in order to hire all those people full time. So if you go to a baseball stadium a lot of times, because there's so many games, because there's so many things that happen, those people are more full time. And at Dignity Health Sports Park, it's always been a problem that because they're part time, there are little issues. And despite the fact that they have meetings beforehand, despite the fact that there's not enough repetition for some of these people, that they just don't, it's like you don't get good at your job until you do it for a while. If I can take something to the train club, yeah, we can teach you to drive a train, but it's going to take you 2 years till you really figure it out. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like when you're driving, you're 16 and you get your driver's license. Yeah, you can drive a car and generally avoid other people, but like, aren't you a much better driver at like 18 and 20 than you were at 16? And it's just about the repetition. And so hopefully that gets fixed.
I think the fans have to be accountable too.
100%. I think the LA Galaxy can't cry poor on this, right? Like, oh, well, we don't want to spend more. No. There's also something we've been talking about in the Discord, which I thought was a great idea. Somebody came up with it, but I actually love it. Yes, you can do the first 10,000 or vouchers, get vouchers, and then you take them to the tennis court and you hand in your voucher. Maybe you don't need to do it that night. You have like 2 or 3 games to go use your vouchers and pick them up. But are you telling me that season ticket members or people, if you gave them a chance to pre-order a replica ring, that they couldn't have made money off that? And by the way, I don't think anybody would have been mad. You could still give away the 10,000, right? And then if you didn't get one, you could go pre-order one and they'll order a whole round. I would imagine they'd sell 5,000 or 6,000 of those. I mean, just saying.
Totally.
I have some of the rings, and in order to add to the collection, I would pony up $25-$30 to buy one. I know that sounds crazy, but but that was just another thing. I think there's a revenue opportunity there. And while you don't want to be the team who's like, hey, we gave out these rings, but you can buy one, I still also think that if it's a cost issue, then make it a revenue point. So I don't know.
Make it a merch item.
Why not?
For sure.
Put it, sign it up. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other things that are in here. Yeah.
Real quick, while we were on the subject before the super chat came in and we were talking about, creativity and all that type of stuff. Or maybe I should save it when we talk about the Austin game. Maybe I thought I was very curious about Austin because I'm going to be honest, I haven't really seen them play a lot this season. And so I was curious who the top scorers were and top assists. Do you know that in the top 50 assists in Major League Soccer, LA Galaxy have 0 players.
Yeah,
in the top 0.
I mean, they haven't scored any goals, so it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, they haven't scored.
The goal scorer in the top 50 is Ramirez.
Yes, because I think he has 3, right? Does he have 3 in league and 2 outside of league?
He's got 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Austin have they're not in the top 50. there's not one player with more than one goal. They've scored 6 goals, and it's been 6 different players.
Yeah, which is surprising.
Which could cause a problem in a game. That's actually not a bad thing, but at the same time.
Well, if you go and look at them in the Western Conference too, the surprising thing is they have like a -2 goal differential, and they're in 6th place. Again, I don't want to say this out loud, but I will. Certainly from a podcast that is covering the bottom place team in the Western Conference, it'll come as a rich, fun little thing for people to hear. But there is not, outside of Vancouver, I really don't see a dominant team in the Western Conference right now. And even Vancouver, I think, is going to come crash down back to earth here eventually. But what they did, and unfortunately for Austin, they ran into the buzzsaw, which is in Vancouver, because that's something. So that's something we can certainly talk about. I want to get to a couple things before we go completely sideways. But as always, the LA Galaxy, one planet, one chance, doing their environmentally friendly, as they do across the entire league, kits that are made out of usually recycled plastic and all those things. I do have to say that this particular colorway is just gorgeous. And it's somebody in the Discord goes, I don't want to keep giving the LA Galaxy my money, but they keep giving the LA Galaxy money.
They're good at merch. I mean, it's not, how much is that shirt going for, Josh?
I don't know. Usually they're like limited edition, so they're even more difficult to get and all those things. But whatever it is, somebody's going to buy it. You're going to get it.
Oh, gosh, yeah. They are.
It's really nice.
Especially once the summer hits, that puppy's going to sell like hotcakes.
Yep.
Well, in the sun watching, weekend games, that's Southern California sun beating down on you, and you're wearing a nice light Galaxy color.
I mean, come on. That's what dreams are made of right there. A little update from the Academy. The U16s, this is all with the Generation Adidas Cup. And for those that aren't sort of understanding what Generation of the GA Cup is, it's the most giantest youth tournament in the United States. It might be even the world, because it gets a lot of international teams that come over and play in it as well. So some good news for the LA Galaxy. U16s advanced to the quarterfinals of the GA Cup. So they are through and full. Their last win was a 3-0 win over Nashville SC. So they are flying. Unfortunately for the U18s, their trip came to an end as they lost in penalty kicks, I believe 5-4 to the Portland Timbers. So the U18s out of the GA Cup, but the U16s into the quarterfinals. And if I remember correctly, and I asked earlier so that way I could actually pay attention and possibly try to find this, but the LA Galaxy, let's see here, the LA Galaxy will be playing, the U16s will square off against the PSV Eindhoven in the Generation Adidas Cup quarterfinals on Saturday, April 19th at 7 a.m. Pacific time on MLS's YouTube page, because that's on 9 o'clock Dallas time. So they'll be playing at 9 a.m. So on the MLS YouTube page on Saturday, you get up early, you can watch the U16s play, which is always a fun thing to do. So check that out for sure. That was sort of an interesting thing for it. Do it. Let's see. A little bit of a schedule again. The Galaxy closing out the April schedule here, going to Austin and then home to Portland on April 27th. That's a 6 p.m. start time, so we'll pay attention to that. And then we have in May, away to Kansas City, away to New York Red Bulls, away to Philadelphia. Have fun on that trip. Galaxy better win a game here in the next 2, because I'm not sure it is. And then you have your first El Tráfico coming up on the 18th. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 games in May again. I don't know why the schedules keep getting so heavily front-loaded.
Crazy.
But it went 7 games, 6 games, 7 games. Granted, some of those were for CONCACAF Champions Cup for the LA Galaxy. But again, the Galaxy 15th in the Western Conference. The only team below them is Montreal in the entire table. Montreal has 2 points. The LA Galaxy have, of course, 3 points at 0.38 points per game. That is pathetic. And they are way down there. We were playing the game, Sophie, and Kevin and I certainly talked about it, but if you figured the LA Galaxy need 45 points, they needed to, at one point, win about 53% of the points from here on out. Well, they got 1 point out of the Houston game, so already that's not going so great for them. So we'll see if that continues. They're going to have to start stealing some points on the road and a whole bunch of other things just to get into that 45 points, 45 to 48 points that we expect the playoff line to be.
That's the last playoff spot.
That's what it has been.
That's the average.
Yep. So that's something to sort of watch there as well.
They need to hustle.
it's starting to take on a real urgency. Now, I'm not saying it would be hysterical to watch this LA Galaxy team, Sophie, that now has the longest winless streak of Greg Vanney's tenure with the LA Galaxy at 8. It would be hysterical that this team would also go on like some ridiculous winning streak and, go pull it back. You win 8 in a row after losing 8 in a row. And what do you know? You're averaging 1.5 points a game. It's one of those. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but in Major League Soccer, to think that you're going to go on that type of run is pretty, it's a pretty big deal.
Did the bad Zlatan era teams, pre-Greg, did any of those teams go on a bad run like that? 2021,
9-game winless streak.
2021, it is. Okay,
that's
9.
Winless in 9, winless in 7 in 20. 18 was 7. 17, of course, was the horrible year, and they're now winless in 10. So that was there. Yeah.
This is a must-win game.
You can say it if you want. It can't be, because you're on the road at Austin. If you think this is a must-win game,
Are we going to start this already this season? It's
gonna be a long season. If you know what, if you lose the game, you should just fold it up and just go home. But yeah,
it's a can't lose game, that's for sure.
you have to take points from it. I agree with that 100%. So let's get to a couple more super chats and we'll dive into the Austin game. Adam, $10 super chat. Random question, but when does voting for MLS All-Star start, and do you both believe there'll be at least one player from the Galaxy for this year's game? I think there will be. There will be. Somebody will end up making it, whether that's Pec or Joseph Paintsill. They'll either be a coach's choice or something like that. They'll get in. I'm not saying voting. By the way, I'm a big believer of not sending those guys to any MLS All-Star games, because I don't like people getting hurt for meaningless games. And how many times can you play Liga MX All-Stars and be excited about it? So that's it. And then Crazy Brain, $10 super chat. Do you think that the Galaxy will have somebody on the All-Star team? They will.
I think a lot of the pundits who picked Gabriel Pec to be MVP may have booked him. So
maybe. Maybe what he needs is a little All-Star game skimp, like he doesn't get to go, and maybe that lights the fire. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Gabriel Pec, but right now it doesn't look like anyone's going.
Crazy Brain, son Adam, his 9-year-old, for both of you. What is your dream team of only past/present Galaxy players? You get one goalkeeper.
Oh boy.
One defender, one midfielder, one forward player. So we'll just start this at the beginning. One goalkeeper. I will start by saying my favorite goalkeeper has been and always will be Mr. Donovan Ricketts. And I know Kevin Hartman will be upset about that, but Kevin, I love you, Gatto, but
Hartman.
I grew
Saunders.
up. Saunders is one. Some people have already picked Saunders. Yep, absolutely. So that's in there. Okay, let's go to one defender. You can have one defender. This is really hard for me. I want you to know how hard this is. By the way, both of the people who I want to pick for this are left backs. I would just like to point out. I don't know
who one is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. Both of them are very easily like two of the best guys that I've ever got to talk to, and two, like one of them's was a world class defender at one point.
Gosh, this is hard. I mean,
so like you could go AJ Del Garza, you could go Omar Gonzalez in there, you could go Sean Franklin.
Say Omar Gonzalez,
it's which is a fine choice. I mean, I would never make that choice.
Is it bad to say Ashley Cole?
He's one of the ones that I would like to say. Ashley Cole was one of my favorite people ever to cover, and I loved. So left back Ashley Cole, or my other one was Todd Donovan, and everybody knew that in the chat room there. Todd Donovan, he's going to say Todd Donovan. So that one. So midfielder now. Good luck. Landon Donovan, David Beckham. Let's see, Christian Wilhelmsen. If you're me, that has a Christian Wilhelmsen.
Ricky's already qualified to be considered.
You could say Ricky,
isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? Ricky Puig may be the best LA Galaxy midfielder ever, in terms of technical ability. Absolutely, he may surpass.
I mean, Beckham played left, like full. He played on the
He's
the
a
wings.
midfielder. He's a midfielder. He was not a forward.
He would say that.
He would say
that. He would say that too. I mean, man.
I would go.
That's a tough one.
I like Landon Donovan. I'm going to go with Landon Donovan. There's no rules for this.
What about? Oh.
Yes.
What about McGee?
Mm-hmm. The sneaky fox himself, Mr. Mike McGee. Yeah, you could say that 100%. Mike McGee, by the way, is a great like underground pick. Like you have to be there. You have to know the Galaxy to be like Mike McGee, and everybody's Mike McGee. Well, yeah, Mike McGee.
No one from 96 to like 2011,
right?
So far, but
no, Mike McGee was great.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're forward. Is it Zlatan? How do you not pick? How do you not pick Zlatan? I mean, besides he was a giant.
I mean, what about Robbie Keane?
Why not Robbie Keane? It could be Robbie Keane. By the way, nobody scored at a rate faster than Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Like the amount of goals that dude poured in on a really crappy team is actually quite impressive.
How we've not mentioned Kobe Jones, who you can play in any position on the pitch.
Juninho and Sarvis. Somebody goes, can you combine Juninho and Sarvis together? They were one great midfielder, always and yeah. I like the other like off sense ones, like Michael Stevens is in there, little Mikey Stevens. Let's see. These are people being being funny. Rob Friend and Samuel. Remember Samuel? Yeah. Oh, good times, man. Love it. Juan Pablo Angel and Adam Christmas. Yep. So all good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that super chat. That always good. All right, let's get you ready for the game coming up in Austin. Again, that game Saturday, April 19th, 2025. 10:30 a.m. is the TV start time on Fox. 10:55 a.m. is your kickoff time on MLS Season Pass and Fox at Q2 Stadium in Austin, Texas. The LA Galaxy traveling about 1,225 miles, which is just shy of about 3 hours, but can be up to 3 hours of travel time to get there. Again, as we stated, they're already there. They arrived there this afternoon. So more or less they probably arrived at like 6 o'clock in the evening. Excuse me, or something like that, to put them into the Austin area. We do expect that the weather about 80-something degrees at kickoff time, and possibly so there is just this slight little possibility of rain showers. And if it rains and it's hot in Texas, then there's possibility of thunder and lightning and everything else. So we'll watch to see if that sort of comes into effect. But here is the big problem for the LA Galaxy. One is, so you and I were talking about it, the LA Galaxy need to show something in this, right? You go down a man last time, so the LA Galaxy will be without Zonka, who is suspended because of his red card, so he won't be there. Maya Yoshida, which I don't think we got to all of the injuries, but Maya Yoshida is still out, and they're just sort of waiting on his body to start recovering. That's really what it is. Hamstring issue. They said they expected it to be a couple weeks. And Greg acknowledged. He goes, I know I said a couple weeks last time. He goes, but I'm not going to push that forward. He goes, a couple weeks. The scans showed that it wasn't a serious injury, but Maya's not a spring chicken. So it might take a little longer than maybe we expect for him to come back. But that means that the LA Galaxy likely in a position to start Eric Zavaleta. Now, I asked Greg about that yesterday. I said, it was more of I wanted to get him talking a little bit because Edwin Cerrillo played center back whenever they went down a man. And he actually played really well. And we talked to him afterwards and he was like, I've never played center back before. It was fun and the whole deal. He's like, but I'll play any position they want me to. He goes, but that's not like the position I want to play. So I sort of joked with Greg. I said, you're not going to have Zonka. Maya's still out. So are you thinking about putting Eric in there? And I go, or is it Edwin Cerrillo going to come back and play center back again? The whole deal. And he said Zavaleta the week prior to actually had some hamstring and back issues that he was working on, but that he said he's stabilized, recovered, and then should be available to play against Austin. I do imagine that's the way the Galaxy will go, is Eric Zavaleta in there. But should something twist or happen in the time between here and now, the Galaxy might be playing a funky defensive formation. Maybe it's 3 in the back type thing that you see, because they probably have more players who can play outside than they can play inside. And so moving, unfortunately, I think Amiro Garces into the center as the lone center back would be a feeling of something. I'm not sure what it would be, but it would be something to watch there. But you have John Nelson, you have Julian Aude.
What's going on with Garces? Josh. Last season.
Yeah.
The guy was on fire.
He's still that same player last year. We saw him make the same mistakes that he's making this year. It's just the Galaxy were able to cover him up. And I certainly think that when Maya Yoshida plays with him, that there's a more of a calmness that happens, and Maya usually cleans up a lot of things. I think that's what Zonka is sort of coming to realize, that whenever you're playing next to Amiro Garces, and he even mentioned it to us, he's sort of a wild man out there, right? Like he's unpredictable in what he's going to do.
Do you rate Zonka?
I don't know, because I certainly think that what we saw whenever he played next to Maya Yoshida was two capable center backs, and I thought they were okay. I didn't think they made any major mistakes. But now you see him without Maya there and without that protection, and now all of a sudden we're seeing all these giant mistakes, and it's sort of like, okay, well, is that because Garces is causing problems, or is it because Zonka isn't any good? I don't know. I'm certainly not willing to throw this guy. I know lots of people are like, I never want to see Zonka play again. Hold on. I'm like, I'm just not that guy. You get a pretty long leeway with me for a pretty long time before I'm like, you're done. So I don't know whether it's just him trying to get settled in the formation and try to figure that out, but there's been some individual mistakes that I think are uncharacteristic for what he can do. So I asked Will, I think on Monday about that, whether or not he thought Sanabria and Zonka were just developing more slowly inside the system than he thought. And he goes, well, Sanabria hasn't really played. True. Has not. He played one game and some minutes and then got injured and just came back and played a half for the first time. So we haven't really seen Sanabria play. So I'm not ready to rate him. And with Zonka, again, you're putting him in a position where he's supposed to sort of watch this wild man in Garces. And if Garces can play, then, maybe if Garces can figure out how to balance himself a little bit, I think he'll take some pressure off of Zonka. But I'm definitely not leaving Zonka out of the. You're going to pay attention to him every time he plays, because you're going to watch to see if you think he's making mistakes because he's making mistakes, or if it's a system issue.
Yeah, you know what, Josh? There's a real issue in football right now, not only in the United States but globally, and we had this back and forth on Highbury squad about all the hamstring injuries that Arsenal have faced. And by the way, 3 of the players, Havertz, Saka, and Gabriel, all needed surgery, right?
Well,
and
for hamstrings?
For hamstrings,
wow. Okay.
Right? And then you had Martinelli, who had a hamstring injury, no surgery there. And then you start to ask questions like, well, is it the training? Is it like too harsh, too much? The truth of it is, in modern day football, right, we are expecting players to be robots. And I don't like it when fans say to me, oh, they get paid a lot of money, especially in Europe, right? No. The monetization of the game could end up being what ruins the game.
It can be. They're playing too much, right? That's basically what you're getting at. That there are too many games, too many minutes, too many things. And I think you're seeing that for the LA Galaxy and the injuries that they sort of sustained at the beginning. You have these guys who make the run all the way through the year, play all the way into December, and are back like 6 weeks later. Which, by the way,
you're diluting the product as well. By the way,
the more games does not equal better, right? Like, and I think that's what Major League Soccer has to get that.
They want Leagues Cup.
Yeah,
they want and then you've got the Champions League, and then now on a global level you've got the Club World Cup. So when people are done playing their season, they've got to go into a kind of mini World Cup competition. Then you've got to go on a preseason with your squad. Then you've got to, play all these other domestic, whether it's the FA Cup or US Open Cup or however they're doing that these days.
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot of football.
Yeah, it is.
And then you go on international duty.
You're seeing it. It's one of the reasons that I think you're seeing the injuries you're seeing with the Galaxy. I think it's overuse. And I don't know that that's anybody. I don't know how Edwin Cerrillo's still standing at this point. And by the way, that goes the same for Diego Fagundez. Both of those guys and Gabriel Pec. How are they even? They played almost every single game that has been played so far this year. Every single game, almost for most of the minutes.
And they had a long season last season, right? And then you got preseason. And then who pays the price? The club.
Yeah.
So someone could go off on international duty and play some meaningless games, right? And then, happened to us with Martin Odegaard, went on international duty, comes back, he's out for 2.5 months. That's Arsenal paying the price. It's LA Galaxy paying the price. It's really, I think it's going to get worse as well. There's no stopping it right now because money's more important than anything, especially player health.
Yeah. I mean, it's just too taxing on bodies. So no, I think that's what you're going to see. So that is your injury update basically is who the LA Galaxy is going to play at defense and how that sort of looks. So I think that's something to watch there. The big thing was we're talking about the Galaxy. They have to come out and show that the bad game they had against Houston was, again, yet another turning point. I don't believe them because I'm not going to believe them until they win a game. So they're going to tell you that. The problem is that Austin also has something to bounce back for. They lost to Vancouver 5-1. They got smoked by Vancouver. Greg Vanney talked about it. He goes, you go up to Vancouver, you go up to that carpet and you play on there. I called it carpet. Greg just called it turf. I'll call it carpet. You go up to that carpet. He goes, it's not an easy place to play. He goes, not an easy travel day. None of that is easy. That's a difficult place. And he goes, I think that they'll agree that Austin didn't put themselves in a position to be effective. And that's what happened. And if you play against a guy like Brian White on Vancouver, who had 4 goals on the night, if you're playing against a Brian White who has 4 goals, you're going to get punished right now. And Vancouver is absolutely the tip of the spear for Major League Soccer. Besides Miami on the other side, Vancouver is doing everything that you ever wanted them to do. So they're playing excellent. And so you're watching them sort of play through there. We got you back. Oh my, all sorts of fun. Hey, so I'll try calling you back. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to call you back right here real quick. We'll get Sophie back here in a second. But the whole deal that we sort of see with Vancouver and Miami and everything else that we sort of have there, you found Austin running into this buzzsaw. And if Austin is going to run into this buzzsaw, if they're going to be a team that gets run over, then they're going to be expecting to come back and have some sort of reaction. And I think it would be ridiculous of us to think that Austin wouldn't have some sort of reaction. Soph, do we got you back? We can't hear you, Soph, and I don't think you can hear us. So we'll try that again here in a second. But the whole idea is that watching the LA Galaxy try to have this reaction game is now going to be going up against this game, against Austin, right? And so there's going to be 2 reactionary games that we have here, and I'm not sure what that means for the LA Galaxy, because you can't think that you're going to go into Austin and not see them react. And whenever you have 2 teams trying to react, you're usually going to lean on the home team to have that good reaction, the team that's going to have sort of that big moment. And I think if you have that big moment, then it's probably going to lean in the Austin direction. So I think that's really difficult to sort of do. We can look at the Austin team and look at who's, again, to me, I'm not considering a lot of this like these big deals that are happening with the LA Galaxy. I don't think that there's going to be these big time players. I don't think there's anybody on this Austin team, who can really trouble the LA Galaxy. But having said, and as you were gone, I was sort of saying there's 2 reactions that are happening here. And if you're going to give any advantage to a reaction, it's going to be the team that's playing at home in front of their home fans at Q2 Arena in front of 20,000 people. Does that make sense?
I think that was Don Garber, by the way, who just zapped me out there because I was talking about monetization and too many games and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's really weird. Columbus are unbeaten and Inter Miami are unbeaten. Vancouver have lost 1 game, but I'm not sure I've seen like a lot of great quality so far this season. Seems to be like a slow burn this season. And when you look at Austin and you see like 6 different goal scorers, and you kind of look at Ramirez and you're wondering, is he going to be the guy?
Right.
Yep. I think he's a super smart guy. I love how he carries himself in the presses and how he speaks and stuff like that. And it just hasn't clicked. And then you say to yourself, well, if Painter was fitter earlier and if Ricky was around, is he suffering from that stuff that we talked about at the top of the show, you know? But Austin coming off a whipping, 5-1. That it's an embarrassing loss, and they're gonna want to win that, and both teams need to bounce back here. Yeah, big time.
So who? It's sort of the battle. It's like an arm wrestling match now. Like who's gonna bounce back more? Maybe it's like Over the Top, one of my favorite stupid movies of all time.
With Sylvester Stallone.
So
God, I love that movie.
When I turn my hat around, I'm a machine. Yeah, remember? Yeah, he does the whole thing. Yeah, yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. If people who don't know that movie, you're missing out on an absolute classic. 5-2-1, the LA Galaxy against Austin. So that's something. But there's also some more things at play here. One is that the LA Galaxy And LA Galaxy head coach Greg Vanney is approaching 400 matches with the LA Galaxy. That is as a player and a coach combined. The match against Austin will mark LA Galaxy's head coach Greg Vanney's 400th match across all competitions as a member of the LA Galaxy. Player and head coach Vanney tallied 29 goals, 23 assists, and 232 games played, 220 starts across all competitions in 7 seasons as a defender for the LA Galaxy, 1996 to 01 and 2008. In 5 seasons as head coach of the LA Galaxy, Vanney has managed in 167 matches across all competitions: MLS regular season, MLS Cup playoffs, League Cup, US Open Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup. Vanney, who led the Galaxy to their 6th MLS Cup in 2024, holds a 16-6-2 record in 24 MLS Cup playoff matches, managed between Toronto FC 10-5-2 and the LA Galaxy 6-1-0, and his .708 winning percentage is tied for the best in MLS Cup playoff history. So that's something that's going on. Vanney gets to 400 total matches as player and coach, which is just a fun stat to sort of be able to put together anyway. You have to have a guy who plays and coaches. I don't know. Does he get a special ring for that? Did they put one aside for him? You saw Diego Fagundez got his 400th game, 400th appearance jersey, but that night he also reached 150 goal contributions a total, which puts him on a pretty special list. But there's more for Diego Fagundez, who is going back to Austin after being a member of Austin and didn't like the way that the time at Austin ended up. And here is the Diego Fagundez little pluser. By the way, I also asked after I got texted this particular stat, I said, does Diego know about this stat? Because you're going to want to tell him about this one, right? The whole deal. So with a goal scored against Austin, Diego Fagundez would be the 8th player in MLS history to record 75 goals and 75 assists in regular season play. Sophie, the other people who are on this list are pretty crazy. So Diego Fagundez will go 75-75. In 7th place above him is Luciano Acosta. Steve Ralston is right above him. Preki is right above him. Diego Valeri is the number 4. Dwayne De Rosario is number 3. Number 2 is Jaime Moreno. And the number 1 all-time leader with goals and assists over 75 is one Mr. Landon Donovan with 145 goals and 136 assists. But Diego Fagundez on the cusp of being a member of the 75 and 75, and he told us he wants to be a member of the 80 and 80 club. So he wants to keep going there. So that's a little news nugget that perhaps get Diego Fagundez all fired up about stuff, because the man is playing with a little swagger right now. I think provided by this podcast, obviously, his appearance on the podcast. I mean,
he was talking about it. By the way, before I forget, how did we not choose Greg Vanney in the super chat question as one of the players?
As one of the players? Yeah.
Right, we may have made a mistake there, just saying I don't want to... I'm hoping he doesn't bring it up in the presser.
That's good.
But Diego Fagundez was all over the corner of the Galaxy in the last presser.
Yeah.
And the first thing he did when he sat down was say, I need to come on your show and talk to you.
That's right.
More often.
That's right.
So it's the Josh hit. It's the Josh wave.
By the way, it works for everybody who comes, every player who comes on the show. If you show up, something good will happen, right? If you're a defender, you'll have a really good game. If you're a midfielder, you have an assist or goal or something. It always works. I don't know if that's true or not. It's probably not, but let's try it out and see what happens. You guys can just line up.
The team on, mate.
That's right. Everybody, we're gonna have to go into the locker room and do a live show from inside the locker room. So that's what we got. So that's sort of this Austin game. This is a game where the Galaxy are at full rest for the first time in a long time. So there's no midweek game. They got a full week off. Everything is sort of set up for them, despite the fact that it's an early body clock game. I know somebody was waiting for me to call out the body clock. But besides that fact, the Galaxy are in a very good position. They're mostly healthy. Outside of Maya, the suspension to Zonka is not great. So the Galaxy defense is going to be a little thing. But this is the time I want to see the offense play. And by the way, play that way for 11 men for more than 28 minutes like this time. Because
yeah. It was amazing, wasn't it, really? Like the energy. And in the first half, I thought, something's wrong here. Like they're... Wow, my God. I tweeted something. Maybe it was a little harsh because I was talking about effort.
Right.
And I just couldn't see the effort. And then I ate my words and I wrote and I said, listen, hats off to the guys. That was effort. They really didn't want to be, it felt like they just didn't want to be embarrassed anymore, you know? Well, and the effort was there in the second half.
Diego talked about it, and he was sort of saying, you know, we played better with 10 men than we did with 11 men, right? And he goes, now we need to go out and show what it looks like whenever we play that way with 11 men. I don't know what it is, and I certainly am not smart enough, and I am not a professional athlete and don't pretend to be one, but 17 years doing this, you see something. Every once in a while, it feels like a team has to learn what intensity you need to win, like what that intensity is, what that repeatable intensity is like, how high you have to raise your level in order to be a team that wins games, that wins important games, that wins big games, the whole deal. And we saw last year the Galaxy sort of figured that out really fast, and I wonder... can you go on the road to an Austin team who is absolutely going to come out clawing? They are ticked. They got embarrassed. They got played off the field. 5 goals. By the way, somebody pointed out that Brian White missed a penalty kick in that game as well to give him 5 goals. So they could have lost 6-1. So they got embarrassed. And usually when a team gets embarrassed, even the LA Galaxy, even all over the years, you expect a reaction game. And whenever you're at home, you expect that reaction game to come. So do the LA Galaxy have the intensity in their game, the mental focus, the creativity, all the things that we've been asking them to have? Do they have that? And are they able to apply that to this game in Austin, knowing Austin are going to come out with their hair on fire?
Maybe they can start building that on the road.
Maybe. Maybe they start winning road games, because that's a fun thing to start doing.
Yeah. And when you look at, they built a fortress last season, and that, it crumbled pretty quick this season.
This particular fortress got crumbled by fake rings over the last one. So we'll see. D Ratings has the LA Galaxy as a 27.5% chance of winning, 26.0% chance of a draw, and a 46.5% chance of an Austin FC win. So the Galaxy have almost a better than 50% chance, Sophie, of getting away with a point compared to this. But you look at the projected goals, the Galaxy projected about a little over 1 goal, and Austin projected at about 1.5 goals. So we'll see what that comes up with and how it is. Are you ready to make choices that will be incorrect, wrong, and ridiculed for the rest of your life?
Probably.
What happens in this Austin game, Soph?
I'm going to bet real serious money. 10 whole. Diego Fagundez is scoring in this game.
I think that's a good bet. I think that would be a good one to take. Diego Fagundez scoring in this game. Yes.
Be great if he scored the winner. But either way, he's scoring in this game. Maybe he even gets a brace, That free kick was sweet. I was like, wow. First Declan Rice, then Diego Fagundez. It's...
Right.
You have to wait for a bus in London and then 2 come at the same time.
That's it.
Or 3. So I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Do you want to?
Desmond Tutu.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 LA Galaxy, and I'm going to put some belief in maybe pressure off not being at home on the road. That was, like you said, a signature kind of moment so far in the season, playing with 10 men. Maybe it gave them something. I'm going to go 2-1.
It's a fine thing to want. It's a fine thing to say. I told you at the very beginning of the show that if you come on here and expected me to say the LA Galaxy are going to win this game, you're out of your mind. I am a jilted lover, Sophie, and they've not proven to me that they earned and need my love yet. All right. And that's whenever it comes to picking. I don't question the effort, because I think it's been there in a lot of this. I do question some of the mental errors, and I think the individual errors that have been plaguing the LA Galaxy. Will Kuntz called playing with Greg Vanney's system sort of the an upper level like course in football, right? This is not easy. This is not supposed to be easy, but when you play it right, it's just absolutely gorgeous and so much fun to watch. We saw that all last year. So I want to see that. Show me that you know how to play the beautiful game. Show me that you know how to be creative. Show me that you can score more than 1 goal, that you can go out there and do that on the road, and then you can do it against an Austin team that is absolutely ticked that they got routed against Vancouver. I think there are so many things against the LA Galaxy in this that if you win this game, then yes, I will believe you are a good team. And if you don't win this game, you're just going to continue to feed into the fact that, yes, I don't believe you're a bad team, because I see it with my eyes, you're not a bad team. But you're playing like a bad team, and as Sasha Kleshin once famously told me, straight to my face, it is about the standings. It doesn't matter what anything else says. The standings prove everything out. If you're a good team, you end at the top of the standings. If you're a bad team, you end at the bottom of the standings. So the Galaxy cannot be this good team that I see with my eyes. They have to be a bad team right now, because they are at the bottom of the standings. So start showing me that you deserve for us to have a podcast dedicated to you twice a week. every week for now over 12. This is show number 1201 on show number 1201. All right. So that's me. I don't think that's unfair. I've played along for 8 games, and now you want me to play along for 9 games. The answer is no, not until you do it. It's my son. I tell him not to do something, and I'm going to watch him to make sure he doesn't do it. But I expect that he's going to prove to me that there's trust there and that he won't do things. That he's 5. He's going to do it anyway. So, but the LA Galaxy are older than that.
Mad run you just went on. Oh, that's great. By the way, Sasha should say less about LA Galaxy.
Oh no, I think he should say. I think he should say more. Are you kidding me? I love it. I love everything. I love it
also,
all. So,
real quick, you said something about Vespa crying about. You said something about Will Kuntz and needing to play this elevated.
Yeah, the upper level degree that is Greg Vanney sort of soccer. Yes. Football.
Yeah. But you also have to have a plan B. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you may not have the talent to be able to play the kind of football that you want.
The only thing that they're missing is sort of the midfield creativity that Ricky brings them, right? And I think you can get some of the necessary parts of that from Diego Fagundez. But I agree with you that if that doesn't work, you got to figure out something else. And by the way, I hear people talking about, the Galaxy need to go to more counterattacking. They just need to counterattack. And it's like they haven't had the people to counterattack because it's been Gabriel Pec running, and that's it. So my whole thing is Greg Vanney's system, as we saw last year, Sophie, has counterattacking built into it, doesn't it? How many games do we see the Galaxy break out and score goals late in the game to put games away, right? So it's there. And now it's a matter of having the personnel for that. And I think the personnel for that has now arrived. So I think you're going to see more of it. We saw more of it in the Houston game. So that's me anyway.
All righty.
All right. I think there's plan A, B, C, D, and E inside of a Vanney system. It's just whether or not they can. By the way, don't get scored on first. If the Galaxy gets scored on first against Austin, they are not going to win the game. All right? That's how this works. So don't get scored on first. I know that sounds a simple thing. Do not, under any circumstance, allow the first goal. I don't care if it bounces off 7 players' noggins and ends up at the back of the goal. Don't let it happen. All right? That's it. I'm done.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Totally agree.
Anything else that you want to cover before we get out of here?
Do you want to do the super chat? I think it's only right.
Yes, go ahead. do you want music?
Character Vespa.
Do you want music for it?
I've got to have music. Okay, yeah, totally.
We'll get you a little ending music.
I need to do this thing right now. So listen to this, Vespa. I'm going to try and take on Uncle Josh.
Here we go. Go
Ready?
for it.
Good evening, everyone. It's Josh Guesman here, corner of the galaxy with all things LA Galaxy for you. And here to help me tonight is the cannon herself, Miss Sophie Nicolaou. Not the best. Wasn't the best.
I hope I don't sound like that. I really hope that I am at least. By the way,
Vespa put me off. I was ready. I was getting into my role. I was preparing like a method actor.
Yes.
And something seems to be bothering Vespa, and it's left me a little preoccupied.
I understand how.
It wasn't the best.
I would like to say
crack at it next time I'm on for more super chats.
One is I hope I don't sound like that, and also I know I sound somewhat like that. Like I think you're Josh adjacent for sure. Like you were.
What's the line that you deliver at the beginning?
Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy. I'm your host right here, Josh Guesman. That might be better.
The chat room's like spot on. Screw you guys. All right. You can't come. I'm going to take my ball and go home. You keep this up. So, all right. Let's get on out of here. Sophie, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, and we will get on out of here.
Highbury squad. If you guys like a little Arsenal and Premier League and stuff like that, women's football, do a lot of the US women's national team as well. Thank you so much for having me. Galaxians, stay safe no matter where in this wild and wacky world you might be. Josh, thanks for having me again. You are awesome.
All the people in the chat room are getting blocked. I'm just telling everybody right now. All right. If you're looking for me on all the socials, it's at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to Corner of the Galaxy. And then, of course, subscribe to all the shows on YouTube, on Spotify, on Soundcloud, any of those places where you can find Corner of the Galaxy. We always appreciate your support on show number 1201 on a wonderful Thursday evening. Good luck. Might not have live coverage on Saturday for you, but if I can break away, I will. But good luck to the LA Galaxy. And, of course, we'll have our show back on Monday night to get you all ready for the next week, and we can talk about that Austin game. All right, LA Galaxy playing Austin coming up on a Saturday, April 19th. That's a 10:30 a.m., 10:55 a.m. kickoff time, season pass, and Fox Deportes. All right. For Miss Sophie Nicolaou, I'm Josh Pato Guesman, and you've been listening to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.